We gather this morning and read scripture and hear a message from me, Maria Walker. And I want to preface it by saying that we pick up on a story that you may be familiar with where Jesus was brought a person who was paralyzed to him. He tells the person, "Get up and walk." And lo and behold, that happened. So we pick up on the story right there. And he stood up and went to his home. When the crowd saw it, they were filled with awe, and they glorified God, who had given such authority to human beings. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man called Matthew sitting at the tax booth. And he said to him, "Follow me," as he got up and followed him. And as he sat at dinner in the house, many tax collectors and sinners came and were sitting with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to the disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" But when he heard this, he said, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick." I've lived in Omaha, Nebraska for 10 years, an entire decade, folks, and I still sound like this. I'm not shy about sharing the fact that I grew up in the South. The sounds of the South, the recipes, the mannerisms and colloquialisms are all still a part of me and are not forgotten. As Scout, my oldest daughter, said to me the other day, "I forget you have an accent until my friends say, 'Your mom has an accent.'" She's also the child that recognizes when I'm leaning into my Southern roots. As the other day we were working together at the kitchen table, she in her virtual classroom and me in my virtual work, I hear the teacher calling roll, and she says, "Scout, are you here?" I see Scout unmute and reply, "Yes," quickly mute again. Almost instinctively, I say, "Ma'am." "Say yes, ma'am," to Scout. And she looks at me with a slight level of annoyance, but still kindly tells me, "Mom, no one here talks that way," and refocuses pretty quickly on her class. It's as though she has reached out and patted my hand and said, "Mama, bless your heart." There are many things I still cherish about growing up Southern. Duke's mayonnaise, it's really the only one, folks. Sponge curlers, excessive monograms, grits, and the phrase, "bless your heart." Perhaps you've heard this phrase on television. Maybe you've seen it in a meme. Maybe you've used it yourself or had it said to you, "Bless your heart." I don't claim to be an expert on the phrase or on all things Southern. And you may already know it has a double meaning. At face value, it truly means bless you. It can be an expression of sympathy, love, compassion, comfort. Typically, when used in this manner, the phrase is accompanied by a hug or a kiss on the cheek, or if you're hearing it from me, I usually clarify with, "For real, I'm being sincere. Bless you. Bless your heart." But of course, there is a second meaning to this phrase that is arguably less kind. Bless your heart can also be a way to question someone's actions or behaviors without directly saying, "That is so wrong." Using bless your heart can give you a pass or permission to, as the young folks say, wreck someone without the harshness of getting wrecked. Thank you, Robin Walker, for teaching me that. Perhaps the equivalent in Nebraska is awkward silence. I'm still not sure. We also use the phrase from a place of love in the Walker home. It's usually prefaced with the question, can I give you some feedback? And we follow up with, it's from a place of love. I can recall a time when a much younger Robin, our youngest daughter, came to me crying, and she said, Scout just called me a name, and it was not from a place of love. So I'm not sure they understood that the phrase from a place of love didn't really give you a pass to demean your sister. Still don't. Bless your heart gives you permission to challenge while at the same time potentially nullify any cruelty that may be stated or implied. In Scripture today, I imagine it as a time that Jesus would have said to the Pharisees, bless your heart. Go with me on this. So Jesus was brought a paralyzed man. He told the man, stand up and walk, and the man did just that. Folks that gathered and witnessed this were filled with awe. I imagine their faces were also reading astonishment in addition to that awe. But Jesus kept on doing Jesus, and so as he was walking along, he spotted Matthew, a tax collector, and said, follow me. So after a paralyzed man walks after Jesus tells him to, I don't really think Matthew could say no to that. So they sit down at dinner, and others join Jesus, Matthew and his disciples. And you all know what happens next. The Pharisees had to ask, why does your teacher do this? I always hear the question with a pretty judgmental and condescending tone. Something like, why does your teacher do this? The remainder of the passage plays out with Jesus, of course, hearing this. I picture Jesus breaking bread for folks, making room for one more person at the table, passing plates left to right or right to left, any way to make sure folks are fed. Any way he can. And then he hears the Pharisees asking, why is he doing this? Jesus perhaps doesn't miss a beat. And this is how I hear it in my head. He looks at the Pharisees and maybe says, how shallow and uneducated must you be to not already know the answer to that? Bless your heart. Then I hear one of the others that have joined at the table shout out, get wrecked, and see heads nodding. But really, this is probably just my southern interpretation of the passage, so I'll stop there with my commentary. Jesus didn't bless anyone's heart in that moment. But Jesus did let them know that dining with those people is exactly what should be happening. That mercy for others is the desire of the divine. Compassion is the motivation for connection. I think the phrase, bless your heart, can include that same mercy. When we say bless your heart, we acknowledge that we don't agree with what someone has said or done. We've given a definitive no thanks to whatever is offered. But we also offer a blessing to that same person. As Deborah has shared with me in the past, it's as though bless your heart has a redemptive quality to it. Blessing hearts can be the thing that allows folks to stay in relationship when tension exists. It can be a way to boundary up when we enter challenging conversation in these next few weeks. It can offer a challenge to spoken beliefs that may not seem congruent with mercy or compassion, and still offer that same mercy and compassion to the speaker. I acknowledge this approach may not feel as comfortable for some as others. I mean, I've been blessing hearts for 43 years. It may feel intimidating or overwhelming to challenge or disagree with folks while still being present with mercy, love, and compassion. But I hope you will take today's message as a challenge to bless a few hearts in the coming months, both in word and deed. Be courageous and challenge when folks are questioning generosity. When asked, why would you do that? Why would you give that? Well, because it's what we're called to do. Bless your heart. Challenge the notion that select individuals are gatekeepers to mercy, compassion, and kindness because of their role, status, or their own self-proclamation. When asked, why would you help those people? Because I can. Bless your heart. Challenge misinformation and misuse of the gospel. Why would you do that? Well, to bless your heart. One of my favorite songwriters, Jason Isbell, acknowledges the struggle of dissension coupled with optimism. He writes, quoting him, "I know you're tired and you ain't sleeping well, uninspired and likely mad as hell, but wherever you are, I hope the high road leads you home again." He goes on to say, "I've heard enough of the white man's blues. I've sang enough about myself. So if you're looking for some bad news, you can find it somewhere else. Last year was a son of a bitch for nearly everyone we know. But I ain't fighting with you down in the ditch. I'll meet you up here on the road. I hope the high road leads you home again to a world you want to live in." As we meet up here on this metaphorical road, may we hold each other's hearts in love and warmth. We are blessed to be in this community that offers space for that love and warmth and affirms all people. We are blessed and can then bless others. May we go forward this week from places of love and courage and approach our world with blessings to share. Bless all our hearts. May it be so.